Draftkings Best Ball, the greatest mystery box in this crazy best ball world that we live in tonight. Myself, Erik Beimfohr, and Rob Coakley are going to dive into our first DraftKings Millie Maker draft of 2024, uncover some of our favorite picks, our favorite strategies, stacks, all that good stuff on DraftKings. Let's do it. Rob, I'm frazzled. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to lie to the people. We're about 3 minutes late. My dogs are running around the house like I don't know what is going on. And they were completely passed out, been on some long walks. It's super hot. I come back the moment it's time to start this show. It is playtime, and it's total chaos time. I clicked the wrong intro video. So we're off to a roaring start. It's a pretty fitting start, I think, for the typical DraftKings draft, if we're being totally honest. Just complete and utter chaos.
Yeah, the interface is about the same. You don't know if you're up for a pick, if you're 2 away, 5 away, 7 away, pressing the wrong intro button. It's all the same. Like, you just roll with it when it's DraftKings.
100%. Super quickly, housekeeping before we dive in. I always think it's important to talk about DraftKings. There's not necessarily as much best ball content out there, and rankings and tools and all of that good stuff. We will be doing a draft, obviously, here in a couple of minutes, and you'll see the good old-fashioned Spike Week Draft Hacker. It is kind of our bread and butter, but all of our tools, all of our content, all of our rankings and everything are also good to go for DraftKings. So not just Underdog, not just our good friends over at Drafters, but the Spike Week Draft Hacker does work for DraftKings as well as Draft IQ, ownership projections, everything within the Spike Week Premium product is available for DraftKings. You can get a link to that in the description. Before we pop into this draft, Rob and I haven't done any. We've obviously talked a lot and streamed a lot. But we haven't dug super deep into anything specific to DraftKings. I've been firing. I think I'm at like 20 or something now. I'm actually finishing up one right now. What have you been like? What's been kind of some of your go-to things? What are you noticing about DraftKings drafts other than kind of the general chaos that we experience in them?
So, what I've been doing kind of on all sites, but definitely on DraftKings as well, because it might actually even be better on DraftKings. We had a chat last week when we were in our Zoom call that we do on Tuesdays. And we were talking about locking up backfields, right? Like we had that discussion. And I sort of went into the lab a little bit. The lab is me driving 1,000 miles every day. And just
from the lab, which is the Zoom call that Rob mentioned on Tuesdays. It's totally free if you're in the Discord, which there's also a link to. It's called the lab, where we all get together and talk strategy like Rob is mentioning.
Well, my lab is a moving vehicle because that's all I'm ever in at these days. So I was thinking about it a little bit more. And I think we talk about people getting locked into ADP, right? Because they're just so like tied to it. And I think we also get tied to terms as well, right? We talk about how best ball evolves. You and Crane actually were talking about how fantasy football evolves in general, right? Well, that evolves because the NFL itself evolves. 20 years ago, there were what we call workhorse running backs, right? Maybe 20 of them, maybe 25 at that point in time, where teams just relied on one back, and that was that. And they had their quote unquote handcuffs behind them. And I think we've tethered ourselves to that handcuff term a little bit too much now, especially with teams that are employing, multiple backs. Look at what, the Steelers is the easiest example, I think, between Najee and Jaylen Warren. But we still get it in our heads that we have to take one or the other because we don't want to draft the handcuff to the back we've already drafted. But would you consider Jaylen Warren a handcuff to Najee Harris? Because I don't. I mean, his value goes up if Najee goes down, but his standalone value is immense already. And I think we're starting to see that with more and more backfields. So based on prices, I don't see it as bad locking up certain backfields. And this is kind of what we were talking about with the lab. So I'm starting to do it more. And the team I've personally been doing it with a little bit more the last few days on DraftKings, on other sites, is the Titans. I've been grabbing Pollard. I've been grabbing Tajay Spears, and the prices are fine for me. I don't have to touch them back to back like you do with the Steelers or whatever. There's a little bit of a discount on Tajay. So I've locked up, the Titans backfield because I think they both have standalone value. And there's also the contingent value, but I'm not relying on a workhorse role. I think they can still both hit my lineups if they both stay healthy throughout the entire season and maybe ping pong back and forth. Is it going to work out with every single team? Of course not. But I think there are some teams we can build on. Your Cincinnati Bengals that you love. Why can't we do it with, a back-to-back tap with Moss and Chase Brown? So I'm starting to play around with that a little bit more, especially in like the DraftKings $3 and maybe like a puppy or a Pomeranian, just to kind of see if I like the way the builds come out before I start implementing them in these $20 contests and these $25 contests. But I think that we need to not tether ourselves to terms like handcuff when the game's evolving. You still have them. You still have your CMCs, but understanding that not every team has a quote unquote workhorse and, handcuff.
I totally agree. I think that one of the bigger examples that you mentioned, Crane and I, on the last episode, which if you'd like to go back and listen to, is of course on this YouTube channel and be a weekly show with Pat and myself called Legendary Sickos. But we talked about tight ends. I think this concept is not the exact same thing, but a little, a similar concept with tight ends where we lump them all, right? What are we supposed to do? That this is how the game is. They're called tight ends. The NFL calls them tight ends. They're tight ends by position, right? You play Madden, you draft the tight end. But Mark Andrews doesn't play the same position as Durham Smythe did. And Kyle Pitts doesn't play the same position as Dalton Schultz and Travis, right? There are different positions within that branded position of tight end. And that's kind of what you're talking about with running back, that there are running backs who are that old school workhorse. And there's not very many of them. Very, very few, actually. Like even some of the guys that we think of as like the super elite, early round guys, and this isn't a negative sentiment, but like Bijan comes off the field a lot more than what the typical workhorse would be, right? Christian McCaffrey in his peak, he comes off the field a tick more now, but it's really nothing. He comes out when he's tired. That's the workhorse, is like the coach has no plans to take him out. Christian McCaffrey decides when he comes out of the game because he needs a blow, right?
Yep.
These other guys, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron was honestly one of the closest to this. He would come out when he was tired or, maybe get a series off here or there. But I mean, I'm using rough math. 90 to 95% of these backfields are some form of a committee. Now, it's varying levels of that, right? Saquon Barkley is going to play the majority of snaps, but he is not going to play 100%, which he was probably the next workhorse besides Christian McCaffrey last year. But now he's in a different situation. The Eagles have largely ridden one running back, but it's more like 70-30 type situations with the Eagles. Same thing is kind of the general expect. Like if you do some projections, that's what you would find. You'll go through these backfields and like go through game by game and see the snap rates and the touch rates and opportunities and all that kind of stuff. And the backfields don't really shake out like, okay, this is our starter and this is our backup. And the backup only goes in when the starter, needs a blow or gets hurt. It's really not that way anymore. And so I think that there's some interesting things around what you outlined with running backs in terms of it's certainly more viable than it's ever been to take multiple running backs on the same team. That I don't think is questionable. But then even within the running back landscape, there's like little nuances to all that kind of stuff that I think why I'm so heavy on this zero running back thing, why I keep hammering, this running back range that there is, and even some later round running backs is largely because of what you're talking about, that when we go into the season, we try to pinpoint, the industry tries to say like, this is who's the Bengals starter. And it's like, I don't care. It's not worth saying, because it's going to be 60-40, right? You're really going to spend your time worrying about which guy gets 60% of the work and which guy gets 40. And then like, they can both have big games on whether it's on 60% or whether it's on 40%. I think we still very much think like what you outlined, that, and it's natural. You're like, who's the starting running back, right? When I go play Madden, I have a starter. I have a backup, and I don't have this like weird thing where these guys are splitting rotations. like one guy, like, and even the third down back thing. So your Tennessee example was so good because we'll even say, well, he's the goal line back, right? We'll do this too. Who's the goal line back? Who's the third down back? And a lot of the times teams do still have like pass catching backs. It's not like James White. It's mostly like Samaje Perine. It's the guys who don't get the quarterback killed as opposed to the really dynamic pass catchers. But like Tennessee, why they're intriguing is because they've actually sort of come out and said this, but they wanted two guys who are basically the same, who can do everything. And so when Tony Pollard's on the field or when Tyjae Spears is on the field, the defense has they're going to run their whole playbook. Nothing changes. And, they can stay fresh. They can ride the hot hand. They can do all that kind of stuff. So why would we care when the team doesn't care which guy is the starter or the, lead? They want both of them to play. So we shouldn't care about that either. And so I think just from how we attack running backs overall, and then how we can do some different things, like you mentioned, with take both the Titans guys, take both the Bengals guys, take both the Steelers guys on the same team. I don't know how often I want to do that because I think the absolute ceiling case for those backs is, of course, like, they do just take over the backfield or because that will happen still. But yeah. I think we just need to your point, adjust how we're thinking about these things. And DraftKings is a great place to do it with full PPR, with 100-yard bonuses, with 20 roster spots as opposed to 18. We have more flexibility. There's some little things like that on DraftKings that I think are pretty important.
I think it is definitely better to do it on DraftKings because of the 20 spots, right? Because there's a lot of guys in the 19th and 20th round at the RB position that I'm targeting. So instead of having the 7 or the 6 backs, you can go up to 7 or 8 and still feel fine about it and have that extra, and be able to be like, well, I have the 2 Tennessee backs, but I still have 6 other guys as well. So I'm like you said, I'm not trying to do it every single draft. I'm not like, well, I'm going to get both Cincinnati backs or both Pittsburgh backs, but I'm going to be mixing it in a little bit more than last year, where I swear last year it probably would have just, been, well, I can't draft Najee because I have Jalen Warren or vice versa. And I'm just trying to be more cognizant of the fact that let's get rid of the labels that we used 20 years ago when the game's so different now, and make sure that we're evolving with the game as well.
I also think it's funny because we will talk, I will say, you will say, everybody in this space will say, because it's a real thing, the like ping-ponging effect of having multiple players on a passing game on an offense, right? You draft Jamar Chase and you draft T. Higgins. You're actually sort of hoping for the ping-pong effect in the playoffs. You're hoping for them to be good the whole season, but you pretty much know that Jamar Chase is a top 5 pick and T. Higgins is a 3rd or a 4th round pick are probably not going to be the optimal 1st round and 3rd round players like in the final, right? It just doesn't generally have, it's possible, but it's a very, very low probability outcome. What you're hoping for actually is what, so when Liam won, that's exactly what happened. Jamar Chase was a 5th round pick. I think T was 4th. They were really, really close. That was Jamar Chase, I believe, rookie season, right? Where he fell because he couldn't catch.
He can't catch footballs.
Couldn't catch the NFL football. It was only the NFL football. That's why it was really concerning, right? If they changed balls in the NFL, Jamar Chase would be a 1st round pick, but he needs to go in the 5th with the lines that they have on the NFL football. But you're actually sort of hoping, like, you're kind of, we talk about like manufacturing leverage within there. Like for the regular season, it's good because if the Bengals are good, awesome. Like that's great. You got all the passing game production. But in the playoffs, you're actually sort of hoping like, okay, Chase, maybe chill out and let T have a couple big games. And now I got 4 or 5% own Chase in the final. And that's when Chase goes for 50, like he did a couple of years ago. It's actually sort of a good thing, but we never talk about that with running backs, right? It's all the running back is always who's the starter, who's the backup, who's the better pick and all that. And it's like, why can't they both? Like, why can't they both be good picks? Like, I do prefer Tyjae Spears to Tony Pollard because I legitimately think it's just like a 50-50 split. Like week 1, I think they both get, 15 touches or whatever. And particularly on DraftKings, we're putting out a new sicko survey for the Almanac subscribers, and it's strictly like DraftKings strategy. So myself, Hacker, B. Kurt, and Billy Jones are answering 5 different questions about our DraftKings strategy as of right now here in May. And one of the questions that I put together is like, who's a player you're targeting more on DraftKings than you would say on Underdog or even sometimes on Drafters? And it is Tyjae for me, actually. I'm into the Titans backs generally, but I also think Tyjae is just a much better pick in full PPR. So that's Drafters too, but he's cheap. Some of those backs I really do like are actually a little bit more expensive on DraftKings. Funny enough, the Najees of the world, sometimes, Mostert is more expensive. Aaron Jones is more expensive, etc. So guys like Tajay are great picks because you don't need, like, dude, Tajay at pick 125 or 130. Like, I'm not asking for him to be, an absolute superstar. We're talking about a double-digit round pick, and he fits the scoring really, really well. And he fits the structures that I think we should be drafting here. With the wide receivers are still pretty pushed up on DraftKings. It's a little lighter. You can get better running back room or better wide receiver rooms generally on DraftKings, but it's still the toughest position to build out like a really powerful group. Like, I almost never feel bad at the other three positions on a DraftKings draft, but I still will sometimes at the wide receiver position if I steer away from there too much early.
Yeah, it's just the landscape this year. You do anything that's not 5 out of the first 7, right? And you're just like, it feels a little thin, and you're just looking for the values. But I, I'm using the
The
cheaper
values,
drafts
and
to do that.
you're like, oh God, I hope Jacoby Myers falls to me. And it's like, that's just that's just the worst feeling. You're like, I would like to start this over. The moment you're like, please let me get Jacoby Myers, on this team, or Tyler Lockett or Brandon Cooks, like, that's when you've gone, it's all gone awry.
Oh, yeah, I have Dontavian Wicks as the wide receiver 1 for
And I
Green Bay
like
on this
Wicks, yeah.
team. Yeah.
But you need him to be a superstar on this team as opposed to the other way around. Really quick before we pop into this draft, you mentioned, this is the other thing I wanted to touch on. Like, if you could have a dream sort of start on DraftKings, you mentioned the 5 through 7 is 100% it for me. But I would add really like player specific. If I can get through 7 rounds, I have 5 wide receivers, Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews through 7 rounds. That is like, it's like stealing. You can't do that on Underdog. It's usually you have to take Lamar in the 3rd and Andrews in the 4th. You're probably not going to get them in the 4th, 5th. But Andrews goes like 55, 56 overall on DraftKings. Lamar goes in, like, I think his ADP is like 42, but he'll often fall to where you can get both of those guys. And then, so you've got 3 superstar wide receivers, another guy in the first, 2 more guys in the first 7 rounds. There's also a little bit of a tier break in that 7th round wide receiver. If you can get somebody to fall there, it's great. I particularly like Chris Godwin. That's kind of my favorite guy around there, but Lab McConkey goes in that range. If you like the Titans guys in that range, I just think 5 wide receivers through 7, obviously that's a 0 running back start, but specifically with that Lamar Andrews stack is like, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And then you're opened up to that amazing run of running backs that are from rounds 8 to 14.
I'm doing that Lamar Andrews stack. Maybe I don't want to say too much because it's just May and we have a lot of drafts to do, but I can already feel myself being overweight on it pretty heavily at the moment. So we'll see. I'm not going to rein it in yet, but there might come a time, like if we're talking about the same thing in a month, I might be like, I might need to rein this in just a little bit because I'm going a little too hard with this Mark, but I'm going hard with Mark Andrews, even if I don't have Lamar, right? Like even if I don't get Lamar, I'm still smashing Mark Andrews. Like, to me, it's the best pick on the board just because of that tight end crunch. I didn't like Mark Andrews in the 2nd round last year or the year before or whatever it was, but because all the tight ends, the elites have moved down, the other ones have moved up. I mean, who's a better pick than Mark Andrews right now? Right? Like, that's just what it feels like. So
he's probably the best pick on the board in my opinion. All right. We're gonna go ahead and hop into this draft. And I see you guys' comments. Don't worry. We're gonna hit those. My computer is moving hella slow today. I think I told you this, but I'm on the old getting a new computer. I ordered it, but I'm waiting on it to get in. My screen just went to shit. It fires up, and so man, like laptop repair and computer repair is such a sham. It's like the car industry is like, so you can get this, so it's probably worth about $400. We'll fix it for you for about $350. What do you think? And I'm like, well, no. I'll just buy a new, and this one in particular was a screen issue. So the guy was like, we can't guarantee it's going to fix it, and I'm like, so you would like for me to spend the full value of this 2-year-old laptop to not even guarantee a fix. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and pass on that one, buddy. Well, how much money will you give me for the piece of junk? Like, I'm just gonna throw it away, whatever. So now we're waiting on a new laptop, and I'm sitting on this slow ass backup machine.
Such a shame, because even like with cars, you can find the parts so cheap, brand new.
If you really try,
And you bring them
yeah.
to the if you go to the mechanic with them, they're like, sorry, we don't put in customer bought parts. It's like, why? What do you mean you don't? Because you want the markup that you can put on them. I know
Yep.
this. I'm not stupid. So, yeah, that's always fun as
All right, let's
well.
hit some comments while we're picking at the 106, which is a beautiful spot to pick. I love the top 6, where I know you're a big Bijan, but technically Bijan's available at the 106 most of the time, but all the elite wide receivers pretty much are there. So that's I say that, and they won't be, but you get the point. Shout out M11, great channel. Started listening to your podcast a couple months ago, and amazing content, heavy drafting this year on all platforms, and subscribed to your Almanac and the Hacker. Awesome. Absolutely amazing. I do legitimately believe, I know you'll see it here, you see it on your screen already with the Draft Hacker and just all the different stuff that you can do with this thing, and especially on DraftKings, where it's tougher, sometimes to keep track of exposures and all that different stuff. The Draft Hacker just comes in so clutch. Shout out our good friend Grady, who has also been in the lab with us a bunch. Let's see here. Pious Devil, not much in the underdog streets. Don't worry, we got you covered. We got plenty of DraftKings draft. There's lots of underdog content out there. We're of course going to do it as well, but I'm going to try to be firing some more DraftKings streams this year.
Get them all. Get some drafters. Get some DraftKings. Get some underdog. Just doing the whole juggling routine. All right.
Let's see here. See, Dylan is on Tajay as well. Tikasaurus, our good friend Tikasaurus, in the 12th spot, also drafting with the Draft Hacker. So I've been getting shit for. Still have the RG. Can we take Amon-Ra, by the way?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because
I'll be nice, because I know the.
So the problem for me,
I know it's a $20 one
with the running backs, is I've already autoed some of these running backs in the first. You're
autoing the first round. Jesus,
we're not even. This is a personal flaw. I pop into a draft, I start doing something, and I kind of often have relied upon my watch to alert me. Like, I'll set my phone down or whatever, and I'm like, the watch will tell me when the draft's about to start. Okay, then I'll grab my phone. I haven't been getting the notifications, like I'm like cooking or cleaning up or doing something or whatever. And so I'm going to blame Apple. I'm going to blame Apple for a lot of things, apparently, my computer, and I'm not getting the notifications of these drafts, and I keep screwing up. I got a couple Bijan teams and a Brees team already in my first 50 drafts of the summer. So we're off to an awesome 0 RB start.
Good job, Eric.
Yep.
You're already, it's May 20th and you've already ruined it.
Yeah, I'm going to be underweight 0 running back by the end of it with all these auto picks.
So what do we do? We started with Amon-Ra, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. Have you memorized all the week 17 matchups yet?
No, I haven't yet. That's another funny one. I keep finding myself sometimes if I am drafting on my phone and I'm not using the Hacker, I'll slip up and use week 17 matchups from last year. Like, I'll accidentally be like, who do they play? Oh yeah, it's because some of them are the same. Well, the Packers, Vikings is the same.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there's
who are
one
you liking in the second. Go ahead.
There's one. I think there's one division game per division is the way I'm trying to remember it at first, and then like the other two are outside. So it's like, well, are they the division game or not the division game? I'll know it in like a week, but I just don't know them all yet.
Same.
Offhand.
I know a handful of them. The ones that I end up drafting the most. I know those, but I don't know them all yet.
Second round, I'm firing the normal contingent of what we're grabbing Drake London here.
Wow.
I mean, how do we not get the Amon-Ra Drake London?
That's pretty surprising. Get Amon-Ra at ADP and Drake London, what, 5 picks past? I'll take that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's a slam dunk if I've ever seen one. And I don't watch
100%.
basketball.
I don't know if you.
I watch the Celtics.
Yeah, well, there hasn't been a lot of fun to watch the Celtics so far in the NBA playoffs because they're playing a bunch of junior varsity high school teams. Wait for the finals.
We have to wait Celtics literally till the finals
for a good Celtics game. the whole playoffs. The other thing I noticed today, I think, was it might have been yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it's today. It's already Twitter highlight clip season, baby. I don't know if you see the organized team activity. OTAs are starting, and we are already. I got Kyle Pitts, day one, deep ball from Kirk Cousins, already getting clipped out there. The Jets, it must not be going well because the clip that they put out was like a 2-yard drag route to Garrett Wilson, but they slow-moed it to make it really, really long, but it was like a 2-yard catch. But that we're already there. We're all ready to peak highlight
half speed highlight season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not my favorite time of year. Like there's ones where you see them just hyping it up and you watch it and you're like, this is I've watched people that are not good at football make this play. So I don't know why we're showing this. Like there was the toe drag one, and it wasn't even like,
it's like the drill that everybody does. Yeah. So the third round I find pretty interesting on DraftKings, actually. I've been taking a bunch of neighbors, of course, but he goes. I actually do like Cooper Kupp. Wide receiver did get anybody else. I'm gonna star Kupp, but is there anybody else that?
I'm fine with Kupp. The other thing I've been doing the last few days, because I was overlooking him, and I just think it's a mistake to overlook Diggs. I know he's not the favorite Houston guy, but I don't want to be underweight on Diggs is what I've decided. And I'm trying to make sure that I mix him in with some of the other wide receivers that are in that range so that I don't miss out, because he was a blind spot for me.
Something I'm doing, he is a blind spot for me. Something I'm doing with Diggs and similar players that I don't particularly like at their ADP, but I'm also not like, I don't plan to go into the season like with 0% of them. I am not taking them right now, and I want to build up to X amount of teams. If you haven't seen on DraftKings, by the way, they have, if you draft 25 Millie Maker teams, which is of course what we're drafting here, their $20 Millie Maker tournament. If you draft 25 of them in May, you get 5 free tickets. So that's basically my plan for May, is to make sure, I'll probably get a little more, but make sure I get to my 25 so I can get 5 free tickets. But my plan over those 25, 30, 35 drafts in May is to really not worry about my exposure much. I am going to like massage okay, if I've drafted 3 Amon-Ra teams and I have Lunt, this is a terrible example. I have Kupp on all of them. I might side for someone else in that third round, but I'm not taking the guys that I don't want a lot of just yet. And so Diggs fits that for me. And then I'm going to continue to readjust. Like once I start to see what my portfolio looks like over 20, 25, 30 drafts, then I'll start tweaking and being like, all right, I know I don't want to full fade Diggs. So now I can start working him in a little bit where it makes sense.
That's fair. And I don't even think he's going to shoot up too much. He might a few spots, but I don't think it's going to be relevant. Like in terms
I still think Tank is going to, maybe I'm just stone cold wrong about this, but everybody that I talk to prefers Tank like straight up to Diggs, and Diggs goes so much higher. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So on the clock in the fourth, we can try the Lamar Andrews thing. We can trade. Let's do it. I'm totally in on that combo.
My rebuttal to what you said is everyone we talk to prefers Tank, but the people coming in July, I feel like they're going to prefer Diggs.
That's fair.
And I think that's, and I don't think it's going to move him up too much. It might be a spot or two, but I think Tank is actually going to drop more than Diggs is going to move up. That's just my prediction on what happens.
He
with
does have
when
the
we start
Q
getting
tag
more.
from the old gunshot wound, which is probably not helping his ADP.
Right. So I think that's what you're going to see. I think Tank. I haven't been grabbing a lot of Tank because my mindset is he's going to drop,
Interesting.
and it's like, okay, so why don't I just get my digs now, draft Nico throughout the entire year, and then get my Tank in a few months.
That's fair. I always struggle with that, honestly, because if a guy's a good pick and this is where it could differ, right? But if a guy's a good pick at the price and he might fall, I'm still comfortable taking that. And then,
Sure.
I'm just going to have some more teams with him for sure. And you can always readjust. It's like, he's not going to fall 3 rounds. He might fall 6, 8 picks or something like that, but I don't suspect he's going to fall like crazy. So I tend to still just take them, but I'm not saying that's always right either. Cause sometimes, sometimes you're trying to catch a falling knife, is what you run into. So it is a delicate balance in those situations.
Yeah, I agree. We're not going to get this Andrew start. The one hole does start with the double elite tight end build. They hit Lamb, Moore, Metcalf, go Kincaid with Andrews.
All right.
So
The positive is this is still a really nice wide receiver range, and there's backstacking options
there's
for Lamar.
plenty of
One in particular,
backstacking options.
that I've been loading up on like crazy. Whoa, Chris, pick 53, Chris Godwin, huh? So it would be wide receiver here for me. Keenan, it is a little dry. Keenan, McLaurin, Pitts is okay. Do you have a preference on any
I
of
like
those guys?
Keenan or McLaurin. I'm probably a little more McLaurin, but grab Allen.
Let's take Keenan. Yeah.
I've been grabbing more Keenan Allen lately too. Another guy that
I
was
keep waiting
having a
for
blind
his
spot for.
I keep waiting for his price to go up to not even because I think his price is like completely ridiculous, although I do have him ranked significantly higher than his ADP. It's just sort of bizarre how much further down the board he goes than DJ Moore. It feels like they should be closer. No matter what your take is on either of those players or either the situation, whatever. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that DJ Moore goes like 2 full rounds ahead of Keenan Allen, given I know he's a little younger and he was awesome last year, but Keenan was like one of the best wide receivers in football last year.
Yeah, he was, and he's got a rookie quarterback. He lends himself well to the way he plays for that safety outlet. Um, so I do like Keenan Allen this year. I had a blind spot. I had to, readjust my mental rankings of players in that range to make sure that I was grabbing more of him because I would go a little overboard on Worthy and McLaurin and stuff, and a lot of the tight ends there, to be honest, because you get Mark Andrews there sometimes as well. So that's another
I
reason.
think that's what's keeping a lot of my wide receiver stuff here in check is the tight end. And that's the nice thing, right? Is like Andrews is my favorite pick in that whole range, but he's not always there when you're on the clock. And so then you're like, okay, well, I like Keenan. I like McLaurin. I like Christian Kirk. I like George Pickens. I like Xavier Worthy. I like all these guys. So it's just natural diversification when you have a whole range of 12 guys that you like.
Yeah. Coming back on the clock here. I was kind of hoping Kyle Pitts was going to follow us, but I had a feeling that he wasn't going to in this room in particular. So,
damn.
Oh, God damn it.
Kittle would have been sweet.
Kittle was the play.
I'm going to float Ladd, Rome, Ingram. I don't really like these running backs. Is why.
Let's go Rome. Let's build out.
Get a little Bears.
Let's build out this Bears thing a little bit. You know who I've been getting more of lately? Like just here and there, but Aaron Jones has been falling to the range that I like to start taking my running backs.
Same.
And I been snapping him up in like the eighth round or whatever it is that he falls to sometimes. So that's been fun. I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and that's not. He's also a shift, I think, in how I'm playing best ball better in that it's the Josh Jacobs thing from 2 years ago, where it's like you can dislike the player archetype, certain variables of it, right? Aaron Jones is more age and those kinds of things. Josh Jacobs was, I'm not sure how great he is, blah blah blah. But then like price is like super important, right? The price is so important on these situations that once we're getting 7th or 8th round Aaron Jones on a Minnesota Vikings team, that I understand the JJ McCarthy concerns, but like I don't really think it matters. Like, I'm not sure that it matters for Aaron Jones having a good fantasy season, assuming health. And then the health risk is slightly factored in at this ADP. So I'm taking Aaron Jones this year.
Absolutely, especially when he's falling. Kamara falls a little bit here and there too, not nearly as much, but I might have 1 or 2 shares of Kamara for the same reason.
All right, on the clock in the 7th.
We can do this Montgomery thing. We could do a Kyler and try to build backwards with Kyler.
I would rather take one of these tight ends, Njoku or Ferg. I don't have any. Can we take?
Take Njoku.
Maybe Njoku will come back to us. I prefer Ferg, to be clear, as you could have seen on your screen. That I have a large amount of Ferg and no Njoku, and that's just largely because Ferg goes right next to Njoku, and I like Ferg better. But I just think we're definitely in more of a sicko draft, and we're going to get some really good running back values. We have Lamar. I don't want to just default to those best current
I forgot
values.
we had Lamar, to be honest.
Yeah. It's because we didn't
I'm going to be honest. Because we didn't get Andrew, so I was thinking we didn't have any stacks. The Njoku thing, I'm not taking a lot of Njoku. And dude, he wasn't doing it with Watson. That entire explosion came with Flacco, which is bonkers to say. But that was when he was actually putting up the points. He never really did it with Watson. And I'm wondering, was that just the outlier, right? Like, was it just the outlier that Flacco was there? And have we pushed him up the board too much? I mean, given the tight end landscape, he's probably fine where he is, just based on the landscape in general. But 7th round Njoku,
That's pretty much how I feel. That's pretty much how I feel. It's like, so what I would add is I feel fairly confident that Flacco was a big reason of why that happened. Mm-hmm. Does not mean he doesn't have some level of ceiling still, even without Flacco. He did start to earn more work, and maybe I'm gonna screw this up, but it did start a smidge before Flacco got in there. Good Lord. This is a wide receiver room. All right. I'm comfortable starting, Swift, Najee, Mostert, something like that. I've been taking a little bit of Swift. What do you think about Swift, especially on DraftKings?
We can do Swift and just have this huge Chicago onslaught.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I've been doing a lot more Bears stuff lately because I also think that they might get steamed up quite a bit. Well, when I say quite a bit, I don't mean like they're going to all jump into the first round or anything like that. But I think that some of the Bears prices are going to, I think they had one of the teams with the most likely outcome of multiple players rising is what I would say.
I would imagine once once we really get like Swift as our guy, he feels like a potential riser. Once we get some Swift, Caleb hype. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I'm starting to, DJ Moore's already probably at his max, but like if you grab Moore and then one of the other wide receivers and Caleb, or even doing it with Swift, or sort of building it out the way we built it out here, where I'm fine if we don't get Caleb. It's not a necessity at this point. We've locked up a healthy portion of that offense already. If we get him, cool. If we don't, we'll just move on to something else. But I've been building out my Bears stuff a little bit.
I'm pretty into the Bears. I
And
think it's a pretty good situation. I mean, just there's so much talent there, and like we love to prognosticate about the Texans and all these kind of guys. It's like the Bears have just as much offensive talent as anybody in the league. It's just we haven't seen the quarterback yet, but that's not going to scare me off.
Yeah. I had something I wanted to say, and I'm so car lagged. Is car lagged a thing? You get jet lag.
It should be. It
should be, right? I think driving to Pennsylvania over the weekend. Yeah. Yeah, driving to PA over the weekend and then coming home, and then the very next day driving to New York from Boston is, grounds for being car lagged, I think.
This computer is killing
me. Do you want to do the Caleb thing?
Let's go ahead and do Caleb. Let's see how that works. My God, I'm going to end up drafting this on my phone.
And I know what I wanted to bring up, and it's a good point. We didn't bring it up yet, so we'll hold off on that for a little bit, because the actual best pick on the board actually works out really well for this team. So
interesting.
We'll
I'm curious to hear who that is. Shuby points out Njoku's best game with Watson was 6 for 58. Yeah, I think that was a bunch of targets. And so obviously we don't get fantasy points for targets, but what I was going to close on the Njoku thing is, like, it's really easy to be like, well, he didn't do it with Watson, right? And it's like, sure, but that doesn't mean it's like, it's also like, maybe he wasn't playing as well. We dump everything on Deshaun Watson, and trust me, I haven't drafted Deshaun Watson. I don't like Deshaun Watson. He's not my kind of human. Like, trust me, I get it all. I think he sucks at football now, all that kind of stuff. I'm lower on the Browns. But when you break out like David Njoku did, like, that's like, he was like superstar level performance down the stretch. And I understand it was with Joe Flacco, but to pretend that like it can only happen with Joe Flacco, like Joe Flacco. Like, I think we're really latching on to a small piece of the puzzle, and maybe it's a medium-sized piece of the puzzle, but there's more pieces to this puzzle with David Njoku. And I think he proved he's a pretty goddamn good football player. And at the end of the day, like, good football players can score fantasy points in bad situations. It happens all the time, at tight end especially. Like, if he's just earning volume and he's getting red zone work, like, what if it's Jameis? Like, what if Watson really does tank and it's like, oh, okay, it's Jameis. We're going to feel foolish because the Jameis might just do what Flacco did, right? It's like, I'm just not trying to overanalyze it. I'm not going to be like with a crazy stand on him or anything, but I am going to take some Njoku. I
need to start remembering that that's where Jameis went, because I always forget, and then I hear it, and it like throws me.
So my guy here is definitely Devin Singletary.
How much Singletary do you have?
A lot.
How much? Go scroll up. How much Javonte do you have?
0. I'll take him for you. Just for you.
Oh my God.
I know you like him. I don't like him.
I like him. I don't love him. I just, he's got to be sprinkled in this range.
Well, we'll just
blinding yourself. You're blinding yourself to. You're not opening your Denver Broncos eye.
Oh, I'm opening my Denver Broncos eye. It's just to these shit bums at the end of the draft. Audric Estime, come on down, baby.
Yeah, don't rule out a significant year from Javonte Williams this year.
I'm not ruling it out. I'm mostly just trolling. I think it's fine. He's like Diggs to me. Perfect example. He's in this range. I don't think he's undraftable. I don't think he's really even a bad pick. I see the case. I'm drafting some Broncos, so I see it from an offense, outperforming expectations perspective. And I think Javonte at least used to be good. I don't know if he's still good, but he at least used to be good. And I'm going to draft some of him. It's just kind of similar to the Diggs thing that I'm like, I'm not forcing it yet when I'm not really like massaging my individual player exposures. I'm more so massaging how all of my, stacks fit together and my core players all fit together.
Yeah, I get it. I need to make sure I have some Javonte. And he is a challenge sometimes because there's guys around him that I do like better, but I am making sure that I click that button here and there. Speaking of click the button, can we click the RB tab real quick?
Yep. So we got Tyjae, Brian Robinson. You're not going to make me draft Chubb or Eckler, so don't even fucking start. But
no, that's not where I'm looking. What about wideouts? We might want another wideout now. I know it's probably going to get gross. I think we can push what I want to do.
Okay. Oof. Tyjae goes. So B-Rob would be my running back. Downs, Judy for a Browns thing, I guess. Wicks.
We only have 2 RBs right now.
Yes.
I'm fine with going B-Rob, and then we might take another running back in the next round.
Okay. Right. B-Rob it is.
Scroll through real quick.
Through running back?
Yeah. Okay. We're good. We're good.
I'm just scrolling to give away. I don't know.
No, I just had to make sure Rico Dowdle was still there.
No.
Because we have to have Rico Dowdle on this team. Can you imagine not having Rico Dowdle on this team? With Ferguson, that Cowboys stack?
I can imagine not having Rico Dowdle on any teams because I don't have Rico Dowdle on any teams. As you can see.
It is a must. So nobody draft Rico Dowdle is what we're saying. Please.
I like this. I would assume most people got that, but I wonder what percentage actually got that. Especially if I didn't do this, making it super obvious. But if we would have left it, if we would have left it alone and just like moved on to the next subject, I wonder exactly how many people would have been like, "Oh shit, Rico Dowdle, love it, I'm in."
Gotta have him. He's a must-have. When we were talking about locking up backfields, can you imagine leaving a draft and not having Zeke and Rico Dowdle on that team?
So
I mean,
talk
about locking up 30 touches for 14 yards.
I was giving Rob credit for that locking up, buying a backfield and doing things differently this year and on DraftKings. If you draft Rico Dowdle and Zeke Elliott on the same team, and this is coming from someone who's drafting Zeke, by the way, but if you draft both of those losers on the same team, then please come into the Spike League Discord at me when you're about to go get in drafts so that I can please join you. Sharbs, that was my guess of who it was once you said
Sharbs is like one of my favorite picks right now.
I got quite a bit of Sharbs. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm in on that.
And he would have went perfectly on this team.
Yep, I like it. Yeah, Seattle, it's pretty much over now for the Seattle side. Woof. Just gonna scroll a little bit here. Your boy Dowdle.
I actually do not like Dowdle, everyone.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Oh my God. Can I just take Ty Chandler?
Yeah, take Ty Chandler.
Whew. This draft is rough. We're going to delete this one from the fucking internet. I'm going to tell you that right now. My internet connection is slow. Both Rob and I are frazzled. I'm dog lagged. He's car lagged. It is.
I'm in New Jersey. Like it's
oh God, the armpit of the East Coast, New Jersey.
Yeah, nobody's happy right now.
No,
especially Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle.
He's very upset.
Rico Dowdle cares less. The Rico Dowdle stands they stopped watching. Our viewer count just went down by 2 when you which is all the Rico Dowdle stands that are out there in the world. This is a tricky draft.
His parents definitely turned this off.
Yeah, 100%. This is certainly, if you're watching this and you have not drafted on DraftKings yet, this is not the DraftKings draft experience. Generally, I did a couple before this, and they were not as tough as this. We are in a room full of all the folks that are in the chat with us, so
yeah,
it's
all the sickos.
It's stuff. Yep.
Shuby says, "At least I can play Poker Stars in New Jersey." You know, it's funny that Shuby thinks I have 5 minutes to do anything fun ever in my life right now.
All right. I would love pick 150. we're sitting pretty good at running back actually for a 0 running back team with 4.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. I do like to dive in. This is perfect.
Grab Roman.
Yeah. Okay. So I do just before we take Rome. I love this. I'm loading up on this pocket of these wide receivers. Like, even if you draft a 0 running back team, kind of like we are, you obviously need to still double back. You didn't take 7 or 8 in the first 7 or 8 rounds, probably.
Mm-hmm.
In this range, like, pick your poison. You can, but it's all these rookies. They all have potential opportunity. They all have kind of ish open depth charts in front of them. From Roman Wilson, Roman Wilson, talk about an open depth chart. There's literally no one in front of him. Jalen Polk, Malachi Corley, Luke McCaffrey. Some people like Michael Wilson. I think that's fine. Wandale is fine. I don't love Marvin Mims, but you see, like, I got him on one team, I think. Then you scroll down even a little bit more, Javon Baker, right? Jalen McMillan. It starts to get really nice at wide receiver once you hit around that pick 150, 160 spot. So I'm always kind of keeping my eye out for that.
And then there's Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe you. Who's drafting? I'd rather draft Rico Dowdle. Who the hell is drafting Tyler Boyd?
I don't know, man. Name recognition. That's the other thing too. It's just name recognition, right? When we talk about our flaws as humans, as drafters, we fall in love with names that we recognize. And you will draft if you walk into a draft and you've never heard of, not that this is the greatest example, but you're like, who the hell is Malachi Corley? I'm not drafting that Slytherin. Give me Tyler Boyd.
That bit is going to go on forever, and no one except the 75 people that watch that stream are going to get it, and it's just going to be glorious forever.
Absolutely. We still have to do the video.
We got to do a video of the Harry Potter, or what the Hogwarts,
the Sorting
Hat.
Yeah.
Oh,
you dressed as Dumbledore.
Good. Oh my God,
I could play on NFL players.
Yeah. That is beautiful. All right, so we are sitting 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. So we're other than quarterback, we're pretty open here. I'm going to scroll a little bit. I am going to put Jalen Polk in the queue because, like I mentioned, but Corley I think is also a nice pick. I do like the rookie wide receivers here. Do you have a preference?
No. I'm a little nervous because there's some things I want to do later in the draft. But let's grab one of the wide receivers.
We can look to tight end then if you have some wide receiver stuff you want to look at a little bit later. Although tight end is also, we're just in kind of an open range of the draft is what I will say. There isn't, honestly, part of why I like those rookie wide receivers is because there isn't a lot else. Like, I'm not drafting a lot of these quarterbacks. Tight end, I don't really love these guys much more than the guys who go real, like Musgrave, Otten, I guess, likely. Like, Juwan is fine. Conklin is fine. Like, Jonnu is fine. Like, I don't love any of those guys. And the running backs, like, we're looking at Dobbins, who I don't like. Chuba, nothing special. Antonio Gibson, Bucky Irving, Tyrone Tracy, Keaton Mitchell. Like, there isn't a ton here. Then we do get to the Bears guys thereafter, but we already have DeAndre Swift and a ton of Bears. So, just a weird range on DraftKings.
I don't like Dobbins either, but I've been grabbing him now, here and there.
Of course you have.
It just,
we're not taking him.
No, we don't have to take him on this team. But I've been getting him just because of all the stuff we talked about with the coaching staff and stuff there, and it just feels so gross every time I press the button. But it is what it is at this point. It's like that's my, what is the food? Think of the food you don't like. That was me eating green beans as a kid, right?
Yes.
Like the J.K. Dobbins is the green beans of the draft for me.
I know I need to eat them occasionally for my health, but I really never want to, and I don't do it all that often. That's green beans.
Likely feels right here.
I was just about to say, what do you think about Likely?
Yeah, Likely feels like the right pick.
That works real nice. So we got One Ravens wide receiver that we should probably even reach a little bit on, given the room that we are in. We have a bunch of the folks who also like that individual wide receiver, and also it's been a really wide receiver heavy room. So I want to just make sure we keep that in the back of our
I was
minds.
just going to tell the chat not to draft Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. That's who
But
we
they've
want.
already done
Jesus
it.
Christ. 15th round Malik Washington. That's the kind of room that we're sitting in right now. And there he goes. Tez.
Yeah, you were never getting him.
No. That's okay.
That's why when we were doing poke, I was like, I think we have to push up Likely and Devontae on this room.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's where I was going with that.
I'm so used to get his ADP's like 217. I'm so used, like, I was like, okay, 16th round Tez seems fine. It's like, no, not in this room. Not in this room. So to recap quickly, so that we can also make some decisions. Lamar Jackson and Caleb Williams at quarterback, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, and Ty Chandler at running back. So we got, some running backs to take. 7 wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Roman Wilson, and Jalen Polk, and then Jake Ferguson and Isaiah Likely. So I'm set with the quarterbacks. I'm set with the tight ends. Another wide receiver or 2, and 3 running backs, something like that.
Sounds good.
So we can just start firing some guys that if you have any, particular guys. I'm not really sure that ADP matters too much at this point.
I mean, I've been getting some Bucky Irving just in case. I don't love him.
I'm okay. I'm actually okay with Chuba or Bucky here.
Yeah, Chuba's fine too.
Do you prefer Bucky to Chuba?
I just think his path to victory is a little more clear at the moment than Chuba's or any of the Carolina backs, to be honest.
Chuba's interesting because he was like a nice hit last year, not a mega hit. I thought he played pretty well, all things considered, given the Panthers' disgusting situation. It's not, most running backs are not going to be particularly efficient, but just to take over the backfield the way that he did. But obviously that didn't mean a lot to them, given the fact that they drafted Jonathan Brooks. I'm not really worried about Miles Sanders. So, we have a, dare I say, a Carolina Panthers handcuff running back. But like, it's also tough later in the season is theoretically when Jonathan Brooks is probably peaking, assuming he comes back to full health, which is like, it's tough, right? That's a tough bet. So Bucky and Chuba are kind of like the opposite, where I don't particularly love Bucky. He's a kind of a small running, not the total archetype, but he is a good pass catcher. He is pretty dynamic. And so if he can siphon away some of that from Rachaad White at this cost, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Another guy that I'm just kind of mixing in, not targeting per se.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think I had one team with with Bucky, so I'm fine adding him in here. I am trying to your Javonte point, I am trying to, like, I'm not actively seeking out some of the guys, particularly like Javonte's issue is the guys that go around him, whereas Bucky was like, I don't like any I don't like any of these guys. So I can't really be too choosy with that. About back on the clock. What else you been looking at in the late rounds? So we're at up to 5 running backs.
Johnson, but that's later. Are some of the RBs. Herbert, I've been mixing in here and there, but we don't want him on this team.
Swift.
The fact that Darren Waller's in this range is gross. Can we scroll a bit?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm making sure
we're on the clock.
I'm putting
grab Mitchell, grab Eli. Or estimate.
Damn it, that's who I missed. Yep, it should have been Eli Mitchell. He's a guy who we'll see. He won't fall now, of course, but if he were to fall, I would like to snatch him up as well. I'm trying to take some. We might have done this last Monday or within the last couple of Mondays where we've taken some Eli Mitchell, and it's just like cost bet against the market. Obviously, he went right off the board after us, but a cost bet against the market. Like, look, I am aware they drafted Grendo, but like they draft a running back every year, and it doesn't always work out. He's been the handcuff to CMC for multiple different seasons. The actual handcuff, actual handcuff, and so I'm gonna buy the potential like really productive CMC backup at pick 200. I'm willing to buy that, and even if it's wrong. All right.
Yeah. Do we still
I'm
need another
scrolling.
wideout?
We have 7. So we got 3 picks, and it's running backs and wide receivers. A little bit of flexibility on which one we want to go to.
You want to grab Shipley?
I'm fine with that, and I like taking these guys that I don't have a lot of. But he fits. You want to talk about the trifecta,
right?
So. Where is Will Shipley? If I scroll over here on the right hand side, you can see your playoff correlations amongst your players. I love this with the draft hacker. Will Shipley is the old cherries. We won the slot machine with Will Shipley. Pittsburgh in week 15, Washington in week 16, Dallas in week 17 for the old trifecta playoff correlation. I mean, he's not going to score any points, but the correlation makes you feel better. It's green on my screen.
Do you want me to drop a hot food take before our 20th round pick to send the chat in a frenzy and go lose their minds in Discord?
I didn't even acknowledge the very
After our
original
19th round pick. I'll drop that.
The original posts were about hot dogs in the chat, so I didn't even acknowledge them.
But we'll drop a food nugget, and everyone will be very upset with my food take.
Is this a recent development, or is this a something you've had?
No, I thought I had this discussion. I had this discussion with Dave. Well, I haven't liked him my whole life, but I had this discussion with Dave on Saturday night. So, and then I realized I'm probably in a hefty minority on this one.
Interesting.
So I'll drop it. I know you're going to be completely against what I say. So.
Oh, really? That's rare.
Yeah.
We have a lot of similar food takes.
We do. Except you don't like good donuts, but that's okay.
That's true. That is true. I don't like fucking Fruit Loops on top of my donuts. That's true. I just want to say
that's fine.
I would not say this is the only thing holding Shipley back. Shipley not being great is also holding Will Shipley back. All right, 19th round. Probably one running back and one wide receiver. What do you anybody for you?
Who do you have a wide receiver you want here?
Not really.
Oh baby, did you see MVS just winking at us?
Absolutely not. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. We took Will Levis. I told you the computer situation is not going well here.
All right, the hot food take.
Let's hear it.
Pork chops suck.
Okay, I need more details.
Just pork chops in general. Like, I don't care if it's shake and bake or regular. Pork chops are just not good. Garbage food. You can't dress them up.
Yeah. So I don't think I totally disagree with this one. I don't think I totally disagree. I'm not sure I would go so far as to say garbage, but like when we did the soup take, we did the like how many foods would it have to get to when it's your last meal, you're about to be executed. Like how many foods would it take for you until you get to soup? And it's like a never-ending list for me. But I think the pork chop is right there. It would be a long list before I got to a pork chop. Like I never crave it. I would not, want it. Like somebody's like, what are you thinking about tonight? I'm like, yes, a fucking pork chop. It's like, no, it's not on that list at all for me.
It was on the menu the other night. And have you ever gone to a restaurant and seen anyone order a pork chop? Like, why? Why would we do that?
I hope my dad's not watching because he loves a good pork chop.
Does he?
Papa Beimfohr, big pork chop guy. He's gonna unsubscribe from Spike Week after this take.
Jawair Jordan is my pick here, unless you want to go with a wide receiver.
No, just give me someone so I can actually take it so my computer doesn't fucking lag out before. Oh, is he gone too?
Did someone take him? Wow.
Jesus Christ. We are really in the sicko draft. I'm just going to pick a wide receiver. Okay. We're just going to
pick a wide receiver.
Scroll down. We're going to scroll down, and the first name that jumps off the screen to me, I'm going to draft him. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Flournoy. Boom. Ryan Flournoy. If we're going to attach the brand to these shitty rookie wide receivers, I got to take them when I get a chance.
Pork chops are half as good as you make them. You need to make them perfectly for it to be good. You have to make them perfectly. Like think of saying that. You have to make them perfect so that they taste adequate. Like, I don't want that.
I'm pretty sure that's how you know it's bad, right? Like that's how you know.
Yeah,
like, that's,
right. That's my point.
That's how you know the food is not good. Is if it has to be so perfectly made, or it's trash. It's like, well, it couldn't have been that good to begin with. If it was like you left it in for 2 minutes too long, right? You got distracted. You overcooked it for 2 minutes on the grill, and it goes from good to absolute fucking garbage. That the food probably isn't that high up on your list. At least it isn't for me.
Yeah, no, pork chops garbage. I will go with Josh though. Pork tenderloin, amazing.
Well, yeah, they're wildly different.
Yes.
All right.
I have a big lag going on with you.
I'm pretty sure I am massively lagging, so apologize to the people. We'll get out of here. I'll read the team. If I'm lagging, tough shit. You can deal with it while I read the team, and then we'll get back on track on Wednesday. Of course, one auto pick. I'm not happy about it, but Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Jake Ferguson, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and Caleb Williams. I will say I do like the Ravens Bears stacks that we got going on here. Didn't quite get Andrews, didn't quite get Tez, but we figured out how to make it work. Brian Robinson, Ty Chandler, Rome and Wilson, Jalen Polk, Isaiah Likely, Bucky Irving, Audric Estime, Will Shipley, Will Levis, RIP, and Ryan Flournoy. Anything you got, I'll let you send the people out of here since I am on Corain level internet.
Will Levis is the pork chop of our team.
I agree. It's a good team. It's a good team, except for the pork chop. Except for the pork chop that got thrown in the 19th round. I totally agree. We're going to get out of here. That's the show. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the Drafter Show. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.